On this week's 2-minute tip, pruning and whooping your okra. In the past, I was never a big believer in pruning okra plants. I always kind of thought it was just an extra labor step that really wasn't necessary. And I'd also never really believed in whooping your okra. So a lot of the old timers around here talk about you need to whoop the okra, where they get a switch or a limb and go along and kind of beat the sides of the okra plant. And the theory is that it stresses the plant and makes it produce more. So I've got 3 rows of jambalaya okra behind me here. And if you've never tried the jambalaya variety, definitely give it a try. It's one of the most productive varieties we grow. So once these 3 rows behind me were about 3 foot tall, I did a little experiment. So I pruned 1 row, I left 1 row alone, and then I whooped 1 row. And what I found was that the row that I whooped, or the row that I pruned, seemed to do a little better than the row that I left alone in the middle. Not to mention that the row that I pruned made it a little easier to harvest. So when I prune the okra, I don't use shears or any kind of cutting tool. I just grab those lateral limbs and kind of snap them and yank them off the base of the plant. This kind of serves to prune and whoop them at the same time. Now, even if you pull some of the skin off that main trunk, it's not going to hurt that okra plant at all. It'll heal over, form a little scar, it'll be just fine. Now, I'm not 100% convinced that pruning or whooping it ends up making more okra, because if you don't prune it, some of those lateral stems will end up producing okra. But I do know that it sure enough makes it a lot easier to harvest, and it makes it a lot more manageable, especially when you got it planted on close rows like I do here behind me. So if you've never tried this prune and whoop technique on your okra, definitely give it a try. From my experiment, the results were pretty conclusive, and it's definitely the way I'll be doing my okra from here on out. Hope you enjoyed this week's 2-minute tip. We'll see you next week.